Meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington. It is Tuesday, August 7th, 2018. I'll ask the clerk to please start by calling the roll.
President Richardson.
Here.
Trustee Burke. Trustee Mitchell. Trustee Perkins.
Here.
Trustee Rigby.
Here.
Trustee Schaller.
Here.
Trustee Thompson.
Here. Thank you. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item for this evening is approval of the minutes from the board's meeting in July. I was not here, so I will ask for a motion on it, but I will ask the clerk, since it's a voice vote, to mark me as abstaining.
Okay.
Are there questions for either 4A, the special committee of the whole, or 4B, the regular meeting of the board from last month for the clerk? Any edits, questions on the draft minutes? There being none, chair would like a motion to approve.
So moved.
By Trustee Schaller, second please.
Second.
By Trustee Rigby. Thank you both. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And chair will be marked as abstained, please. Agenda item 5 is the president's remarks. Under that, we have our partner in crime, Michael Brink, with us from Waste Management, who's asked for a chance to talk about what's going on. So welcome, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you for letting me come and talk to all of you. It's a pleasure to see all of you tonight. Hope the rain wasn't too bad here. It was sunny when I got here, but just to give you a little idea of what's happening in the recycling markets today. Things are kind of crazy in the industry right now, to say the least. About a year ago, China notified the World Trade Organization that they were going to ban a bunch of import of 24 materials. It was kind of skeptical whether they would do it or not, but they did do it. And at one point, they actually, earlier this spring, they stopped taking any material at all. What this did was it created a glut in the market, and it sent the market for recyclables down quite a bit. I think estimates are that they've gone down at least 40% than the previous year. China, prior to this, they were taking about 25% of the material, recycled material in the world. They are also announcing now that they hope to, by 2020, not be taking any recyclables at all. So that's changing the market as a whole and the recycling industry as a whole. The sure impacts of supply and demand have changed because of this. Recycling commodity markets have plummeted due to oversupply of recyclables and simultaneous reduced in demand. China has also, they said before they were taking about 10% contamination in the bale of material that we were sending over there, we meaning the United States, they changed this to 0.5%. Wow. That's not real feasible for any recycling facility right now in the United States. But so what this has done also is, so the places that are taking materials right now, they've kind of put their hand up and said, well, you know, if China's not going to take all the contamination, we don't want all the contamination either. So to add a little more interest into the industry, you know, not only do you have the markets that have gone down quite a bit, now the people that are taking the material would like cleaner materials. So what's happened at our recycling facility just right up the road in Grays Lake is they've had to slow down the lines a little bit, and then they've had to have more labor to the lines to pick out the garbage material that's coming out the line. I was there a couple of weeks ago doing a tour with a Taiwanese delegation, and one of the things I saw coming up on the line was a plastic snowman. It was about 4 feet tall, and I thought it was kind of interesting it was coming up in July, but you know, what are you going to do about that? So the recyclers, like us, that are collecting this material, we're having a hard time getting rid of the mixed paper and some plastics. You'll see sometimes if you drive by that facility, I hear it's getting cleared out a little bit now, but there was a lot of material coming out the doors, bales of material that they were having a hard time moving. Since we are pulling out more material, the residual rates at the MRF are increasing, so that's increasing costs there too. So it's just changed the program a whole lot out there. What we're encouraging our communities to do is review the list of the recyclable items that communities are taking, emphasizing the 3 rules of recycling that are available on our education site, Recycle Often, Recycle Right. Focus on recycling all your empty plastic bottles, aluminum cans, plastic and cardboard. Keep food and liquids out of this material, and keep loose bag or bag material out of the stream too. We see the #1 contaminant that we get, and what we get from the curbside program is people putting their recyclables in the cart with plastic bags. You know, I get it, it's a lot more convenient to take it from the house to the cart and put in the plastic bag in the cart. What this does, it does a couple things. It's harder for the guys on the line to determine if there's actual recyclables in that bag. You know, they get some dangerous stuff coming out, like a lot of times people put needles and other things that aren't acceptable in there. And then if the bag does get through that process, it has a tendency to get caught up in all of our pulleys and equipment in the facility. So about twice a day, they have to shut down operations and get out there with these hooks and pull all the plastic bags off there. So they're a real pain for us. We just encourage people to keep all your bags together, and a lot of times if you take them back to the grocery store where you got the bags, they have a collection point for it, and they're able to handle them in a better way. The recycling, you know, and the markets have had tough times in the past. Markets have always gone up and down like this. It's a little different this time because of China and their position that they're not going to take the recyclables anymore. My personal belief is in the long run we'll come out stronger on this. It may take a little time. You know, we'll have probably some better domestic markets, and we'll have just more markets in general to take the material to. I kind of look at it like, you know, like the small town that had a Walmart there, and everything became reliant on that Walmart. You know, maybe the world was a little too reliant on China and recyclables that they were taking. So I'd be happy to take any questions. Things are changing pretty rapidly in the industry, so if I don't know the answer to your question, I'll write it down and I'll get an answer back to Karen and share it with you.
Thank you, Mike. Let me see if any of my colleagues have questions. Trustee Thompson, anything you'd like to raise or ask?
Not at this point, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Shaw.
Explain, I guess, when you don't understand the process, I guess my grasp is the truck comes by, it picks up the whatever's in the recycle bin versus the other bin, and then takes that, let's say in this area, up to Grace Lake or somewhere in that area.
Correct.
What happened? I guess I never thought of what happened. I thought it just ended up there. What happens there, and how does it recycle over to someplace else or
So
China?
what happens there, it gets dropped on what's called the tipping floor, and then they push the material onto a conveyor belt, and then it goes up a line where it goes through the sorting process. You know, the first sort is they try to pull out the material like that plastic snowman.
Right, yeah.
Pull out, yeah. And then from there, all the material gets sorted into different bins, so we'll sort the cardboard into one, aluminum cans will get sorted into one, the mixed plastics will be on their own, and then mixed paper will be on their own, and metals get sorted too. And then what we do is we bale up the material, and I think the bales are about 2,000 pounds each, and they wait till they have a truckload full, and they load them on a truck, and you know, depending on where the end market is going to, they'll ship it out. Like I said, a lot of stuff was going to China before, but you know, they're looking at a lot of alternative locations now.
So they would take the bales and ship them by rail someplace to work?
Yeah, maybe sea, or some of them will go by truck. You know, if there's a paper mill in Wisconsin that wants that cardboard.
Okay. And is that an independent, or does Waste Management have their own vehicles to do that?
We use trucking companies for the most part. If any of you would ever like to see a tour of the facility, we're always happy to show it off. It's a very interesting tour if you've never been up there to see something like that.
Is that the one on 83 right before you get to the train tracks?
Correct.
So what is kept there and up in the hills, which is now becoming a ski mountain, or whatever, is the other garbage, correct?
The landfill,
Yeah.
right next door to it.
Yeah. Little fumes coming out of it because of whatever.
Yeah.
But that would be the other garbage, that wouldn't be the recycling.
Right, yeah, that's where the waste goes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, okay.
Trustee Perkins.
Okay, so you said you welcome tours.
Yeah.
What about like that would be, I think, I'm a Girl Scout leader, so would that be, would you take a group of younger children, or are you talking more?
More like adults.
Because we talk about recycling.
Yeah, it's
you know.
a kind of a dangerous atmosphere.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's,
You know, there's a lot of great videos on YouTube that you can share with the girls, or if you want, I can try to find one and send it to Karen, and she can probably get it over to you. Maybe that would help.
no, I'm sure I can find one. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I wouldn't be driving in a car with screaming girls,
I don't know
right?
why you want to get out of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, I have one more question. This is the age-long question for my husband and I. It's like a battle.
Yeah.
Pizza boxes. You know, they have the paper, so you get rid of all the junk, but there might be a little grease left in the box.
Yeah.
Is it, you know, because that's a lot of cardboard.
That's a huge contaminant.
That's a huge contaminant. Oh boy.
Throw them out. Yeah.
Okay.
The bags are our first number one contaminant material with food in it is arsenic. So, yeah,
Yeah.
throw those out.
Good to know.
Well, I'll build on the question, and the administrator asked it in a little different way. We just a moment ago. What about corks and wine bottles? There's a heavy volume of corks.
I always found wine bottles hard to get back in the wine.
That's right, John. So, do corks go in recycling, or do corks go in trash?
Corks go in trash. Yeah.
Guess right.
Bottles going.
Yeah, bottles, and the contents go inside.
What about water bottles? Like does the lid stay on or off?
You can leave the lid on there.
Okay. And better yet, don't use these. Use a water bottle like our recycling, right?
That's what a lot of people say. I have to admit, I use those quite a bit.
Trustee Rigby.
This is a kind of off-the-wall question. You read a lot about the places in mid-Pacific, north of Hawaii, that are just miles and miles and miles of floating plastic. Is there any way to gather that up and recycle that stuff?
You know, that's a really great question. I don't know. I've heard about that problem. I mean, recently I told Trustee Schaller, I was down Dominican Republic, and they weren't giving any straws in any of the drinks they were giving you because of
Yeah, straws don't necessarily float, but they've got, you know, you see these pictures, you know, some of the Caribbean beaches just covered with trash. Isn't there a way to drive a boat through there and gather this stuff?
I would think they'd be able to collect it with like a big fishing net.
But you don't know anything about it, so I just want to
Yeah.
start with business.
I think you have to get the right organization to do that.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you for being with us, and we appreciate you keeping in touch with us on this. You know, we pride ourselves on being responsible stewards of the environment, so to the extent we can partner with you in educating our residents, please know that the welcome mat is on for that purpose.
Okay. I appreciate all the assistance that the village gives us. Aaron and Lisa are great to work with. Can I ask for anything more?
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Randy, I'm just looking at Science Alert Online, and this is an April 24th article titled "A Unique Plastic Collecting Device is About to Take on the Great Pacific Garbage Patch." And they're testing it now. After years of development, the world's first passive plastic collection devices deployed in the Pacific Ocean in an attempt to do something about plastic pollution. This is dedicated to removing debris from the oceans. The device will be tested between California and Hawaii. Region concentration, less pollution in the North Pacific. Designed by the Ocean Cleanup Foundation. Worthy cause. Good question.
Bill, I don't understand how the plastic gets in the ocean to begin with. Like, are people throwing it in, or is
Yes.
it people, really?
Yes, and people are dumping, municipalities, states are dumping it in the ocean.
But not
New
from the
York City
United
sells all
States.
its garbage in the ocean.
Who does?
New York City.
Because they couldn't find any place to go with it. They kept floating that thing around.
They build barges and stay out in the ocean and dump it.
Seriously?
As a heart attack, yes.
I did not know that. How can that be?
Why don't you go ahead and came to the meeting?
It was legal.
Okay, let's keep going because I've got my eye on the clock. Agenda item 6 this evening is the first opportunity in the board, or in the agenda rather, for the public to address the board on non-agenda items. I see no one seeking recognition, so we'll move to agenda item 7, the consent agenda. As set forth in the written agenda for this meeting, a couple of items. One is Illinois law permits municipalities to adopt by one single unanimous roll call vote. This is the details on this. I'm sorry, Karen. It's 7A and B are our agenda items. My mistake. You want to set these up real quickly, please?
Sure. The first item is community room flooring. Looking for a motion to approve an agreement with Mayfair Furniture and Carpet in an amount not to exceed $3,849, and to authorize the village administrator to expend a contingency amount of up to 10% to cover any additions or changes due to unforeseen circumstances. And that is to replace the flooring in the community room. It was damaged by water from a leak in the window a couple years ago. The second item is lighting at Friar Farm to light both the front entrance and then some along the back side of the shed for added visibility and security. And the motion to approve an agreement with Phone Lines, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $10,450 plus a 10% contingency amount for the lighting.
Are there questions for the administrator on either issue, since we discussed them in the committee as well? If not, Chair would like a motion to approve in block agenda items 7A and B set forth in the consent agenda, community room flooring, and Friar Farm lighting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
By Trustee Schaller, seconded by Trustee Thompson. Thank you both. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Schaller.
Yes.
Trustee Thompson.
Yes.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee Rigby.
Yes.
President Richardson.
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 8 this evening is the treasurer's report.
Good evening.
Hello.
So you have before you the financial statements for the 2 months ended June 30th, 2018, or our 2019 fiscal year. That means we're in our second month of our fiscal year, which is about 16%, through our fiscal year. We'll start looking at the flash report on page 2. You'll see we have assets of $2,800,000. We have current liabilities of $970,000. Equity at $1,008,000, which means our assets are equal to our liabilities and equities at $2,008,000. Total revenues for the 2 months ended June 30th, 2018 are $738,000. Total expenses are $381,000 for a net income of $356,000. And that's compared to last year at this point of $228,000. But then we go down below the bolded line, we pull out our extraordinary items. And you'll see that we're pulling out the revenue from the Weineke Capital Trust of $88,000 this year. Last year we took out some road work. And when we pull those amounts out, we have regular operations net income for this year, June 30, 2018, of $268,000 compared to this time last year, June 30, 2017, of $236,000. So we're actually pretty close to where we were at this point last year. I think the difference a little bit is tax revenue. It's starting to even out now, but we did get some early tax money from Lake County last month, and now at the end of this month, it's starting to even out a little bit to last year. So we flip forward to page 9 and 10, we'll see the budget report for the general fund. Once again, we're 2 months through our fiscal year. You'll see down below total revenues about 3/4 of the way down the page. We're 25% actual to budget. Page 10, expenditures are 13% actual to budget. So we're ahead on revenues. Chiefly, we've collected a lot of our tax revenue up front. You'll see our real estate taxes. We've collected almost a little over half of our taxes at this point. So that does pull our percentages up for the actual to budget on revenue. And then once we start paying some for our road maintenance, which you see outside, it's occurring right here on Old Barrington Road, that will pull that percentage up as well.
And thank you for saying, do you want to elaborate on the point about Old Barrington Road's cost being paid by something other than tax dollars?
Sure. Old Barrington Road, that project is being funded by developer impact fees. So in Lake Barrington, developer impact fees need to be used within 13 years of collection, or they go back to the developer. And we had a wonderful opportunity. Old Barrington Road was high on our list of replacement in our pavement analysis. And so we went out for bid a couple months ago, and it's being totally funded by the impact fees.
Thank you. And thank you for pointing it out.
Okay, so any questions on the general fund before we move ahead?
No, just on the flash report page, the 1.8 million in equity, that means we are at about 65%. Our goal isn't our goal, a little foggy this evening, I'm sorry. We will try to keep 60 or 65% of an operating budget in.
Which is about $1.3 million, yeah. So this number is high because we've just collected a lot of real estate taxes.
Okay.
So when we look at this in June, it's a little bit skewed. You know, June through October, we collect a lot of tax money. And then you'll look in November, December, January, it starts to sort of bottom out.
Dissipate.
Closer to our, what we call our fund balance that we look to maintain from year to year. I think last year at the end of the fiscal audit was about $1.4 million. We try to maintain 7 months of operating expenses. So, which is, our operating expenses are about $200,000 a month, so 7 months is $1.4 million. Any more questions on that?
No, thank you.
Okay. So page 11, motor fuel tax fund. We have current assets in there of $170,000. They basically take our current assets, our net current assets, I'm sorry, of $170,000. That's our current assets less our liabilities. That big payable on there is for the Savannah project. They'll see there's another pay request tonight as well for Geske and Sons towards that project. But that's all been budgeted. You know, this is all money spent as planned. And it does grow between $9,000 and $11,000 a month. Any questions on the motor fuel tax fund? Okay, we can go to page 15. That's the water sewer fund. Everything is going along just fine in that fund. We've got $1.5 million in net current assets. This year, our planned capital expenditures in fiscal year 19 are $280,000. You'll see a request tonight for the painting of the water tower project, water tower painting that is complete. So once again, all things that were budgeted and spent as planned. Page 19, we have the open space fund. In our operating account, which we know is really just for capital type acquisitions, there's $267,000. The other bank account for the open space bonds, that's $210,000. That is just for the payment of interest and principal on the bonds. The next payment's coming up in October. So there's been very little activity in that fund this month, a little bit of legal expense, and then we did have a small fee to the bank once you repay them as like an administrative fee to administer the bond. Okay, so that's all I have about the funds. The accounts payable, the warrants have been reviewed. There are a few unusual, what I would call just non-customary, they're not unusual, but they just don't occur on a regular basis. Requests in there. Cuba Township, there was one for $1,500, and that's a culvert replacement. The telephone service, Alfredo telephone service, there's a 50% down payment for the security cameras at Fire Farm. That was already, that actually check was already written, but that is in there for your approval. It was needed to get the work started. Earnest money in the amount of $57,500 for the Fredling purchase. That was approved. But the check this month is, the request is this month for on the warrants. The check was written down. Two requests for water tower painting, related to water tower painting, $6,000 to Dixon Engineering for oversight of that that painting project, and the $47,220 for Jetco. And the $47,220 was the exact contract price approved by the board in 2017. And once again, all amounts have been budgeted and have received prior board approval. They're in there for the checks for tonight. And that's all I have.
Terrific, thank you. Are there questions for the treasurer this evening? Thank you. Really appreciate the typically concise and informative report. Any storm clouds on the horizon you worry about?
No.
The chair would like a motion to approve and block agenda items 8A, approve the financial statements as of June 30, 2018. B, pay bills in the amount of $333,447.69 as listed on the accounts payable warrant A dated August 7, 2018. And C, pay bills in the amount of $32,824.43. Thank you, Lisa. As listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated August 7, 2018. May I have a motion to approve? Moved by Trustee Rigby. Thank you. May I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Thompson. Thank you both. Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Rigby,
Aye.
Trustee Thompson,
Yes.
Trustee Perkins,
Yes.
Trustee Schaller.
Yes.
President Richardson.
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 9 is the administrator's report.
Yeah, let me put that out. Okay, so the Flint Creek, Spring Creek Watershed Partnership, they submitted a 319 grant application for $11,700 through the Lake County SMC for calibration of 5 stream gauges, and one of those is here in Lake Barrington. They need to be calibrated so that the measured water level related to the stream discharge can be on a consistent basis. Submission was able to be done because of our recent update of the watershed plan. So that's, I mentioned earlier, in our committee of the whole, the watershed plan is necessary to apply for certain grants. We'll also be looking at other grant applications as well. The Barrington Honor Ride and Run is this Sunday, August 12th, starting at the Barrington Hills Riding Center. And it's to raise funds for veterans. You can go on their website to get more information if you'd like to participate. The organizers are aware of the Old Barrington Road reconstruction, so they will be rerouting a little bit to keep the same mileage. Under the building assessment report, it's being tweaked and finalized. The week of August 20th, I'll be meeting again for a final walkthrough with the architect and for cost estimating, and then we'll finalize the report. And as Treasurer Hirsch just reported, the repainting of the water tower is completed, approved, inspected, and the painting of the iron removal filter tanks is expected to begin in 2 weeks. And that is it.
Questions for the administrator? We can move to
Just, not a question, but just to let everyone know that the honor ride will be going through Lake Barrington shores, entering on Miller Road at the Miller Road Gate, and then going down the Shoreline Road and exiting in Kelsey Road Gate, and the veterans of LPS will be handing out waving flags for the people to wave at the riders as they go by.
Thank you.
We should also note that our administrator's birthday happens to be today. So.
Very important.
Very important.
As I said earlier, a gal has turned 29 every day.
That's right. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Are there further questions for the administrator or comments? There being none, agenda item 10, the clerk's report.
The barn stand will be on October 6th this year. Hopefully we'll have good weather. It's a little bit earlier than we've had in the past, and hopefully it won't rain. The fall newsletter will be coming out early to mid-September, so if anyone has anything they'd like to add in the newsletter if we can get that submitted in the next couple weeks. Village Hall will be closed for Labor Day holiday on September 3rd, and our next board meeting will be the next day on September 4th. And one more thing, Baycog is having their private well water testing event coming up again, and residents will be able to purchase the water test kits at Village Hall from August 27th through the 31st. And they can be dropped off on September 5th at the Garlands of Barrington.
Great. Thank you. Questions for the clerk? Perfect. Thank you. We can move to agenda item 11, reports of the standing committees. I'm going to actually defer on A, branding and communications, to Trustee Thompson to talk a little bit about what he's got going under community relations. They're kind of merged together. So.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, first of all, we're planning on doing some focus groups of residents because we want to know why they're here and why they stay. We'll be doing those in October. We're assembling all the issues, all the parts that have to go into that program, and we'll be doing it, as I said, in October. We're also working on looking at some adjustments to the logo to make sure that everyone can see what a beautiful place this is to live. And I guess that's about it on that. Community relations. Who would like to hug a donkey? Anyone? Well, you
The
can't.
temptation to make a joke out of this.
I know. I took that, so you can though this Saturday at Friar Farm between 1 and 4 p.m. because the veterans of LBS and Bravehearts are making a presentation. Bravehearts is a nationally known veterans equine therapy program. Using horses, they work with veterans and their PTSD issues, and they'll be showing their program at Friar Farm this Saturday between 1 and 4 p.m. and they will be serving cookies and lemonade. And yes, you can hug a donkey that day. Everyone's invited. I spoke about the folks group plan, also a Village Hall mural. As you may know, we have a rogues gallery of village officials and staff in the hallway. We're going to do we've asked some Barrington High School art students to paint a mural of our logo right next to the photos. So it looks like we're going to be starting on Monday, September 17th in the afternoon sometime. So hopefully within about a month that job will be completed. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Questions? I want to thank you that this effort to really get into the residential brand activity in the last 6-7 months. You've spent a lot of time on it, and it looks very exciting and promising. And I just want to publicly thank you for what has been allowed.
Thank you.
11C, Economic Development. Trustee Burke is not in the U.S. tonight. Karen, do you want to talk just a little bit about the draft that you showed us?
Sure. We have a draft economic development plan. It's very similar to what was presented to you last month in the committee of the whole. It's just been tweaked a little bit, some comments incorporated into it. And we'll be looking to approve this plan at next month's meeting. Meanwhile, Kathleen Scott, our consultant on this, and staff have been working on, I'll say, tweaking the business license applications. We're working on getting them into fillable PDF forms, and we'll be going through one last review of that with Kathleen and Attorney Bateman before we post them online, and more things to come.
Thank you. 11D, External Relations. I attended the summer annual meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. It was in Boston in late June. And as is my custom, I never invoice the village for my travel expense, but I find these meetings particularly helpful. As we're a smaller community, we get access to the bigger cities' experts. They did a phenomenal panel on municipal cybersecurity. And they had the chief technology officer, or the chief cybersecurity officer for Raytheon, which is a big Boston-based company. They had a few mayors whose cities have been hacked, which is no day at the beach. One of the issues, and I think we've already talked about it, is making sure our cyber insurance is up to date. It's really become a bigger problem. But the administrator and I are talking about starting to look at this because one of the recommendations that's coming out more and more, and it was a little counterintuitive to me at first, which is to move things to the cloud. And I learned a lot about this. And I spent the last year and a half learning a lot about this. And true cloud computing, which is often confused with remote hosting by smaller vendors, is not the same thing. True cloud computing are the 5 or 6 global behemoths that can throw billions and billions of dollars in cyber defense and always have the best-in-class defense capabilities. It really gets us out of the business of running and owning servers and operating them and worrying about cybersecurity. The news reports are replete with reports of foreign governments looking to hack. There was an article in GovIT magazine 2 months ago that hackers are now looking at small and medium-sized communities. So I'm going to be working with the administrator on this, and the U.S. Conference of Mayors has tremendous in-house expertise. And the private sector folks on this have been really impressive. We might even invite a couple of the big ones in to present to us at some point. Whether it's Amazon or Microsoft or IBM or Google or VMware or Rackspace, the big ones. I've learned that cloud computing is not the same. A lot of people say they have it, they don't really have it. They have remote hosting, which is different. It's cloud computing, and it really offers a lot. The FBI for government agencies uses something called a data standard called CJIS, Criminal Justice Information System, I think. And it's the data standard for handling governmental data. And while our data is not confidential in the sense that criminal data is, or other kinds of classified data, it's the gold standard on this. And it's interesting, all the hacking things you hear about in big companies or governments, it's done when they're managing their own IT. They haven't hacked the big cloud companies, they've hacked. And there's some very bright guys at the University of Illinois Grad School of Computer Science, and I've known their family. I know one of their families quite well. And I'm actually want to talk to us about doing a simulated cyber attack upon the village. And we do them with the natural disasters, John, and you lead those. And it got me thinking. That's one of the things that the mayors who participated in this panel said is they now do simulated cyber disasters as much as they do simulated natural disaster planning. And I figure a lot of us in municipal government are living on borrowed time with this, so I won't try to get ahead of that. And this seminar there, this panel was most informative. So the administrator and I will keep you all posted on this, but it's something worth staying up at night and worrying about. So that's what we're going to do, so we know what we're going to do and we can get it right. 11E, Finance, HR, and Administration, Trustee Rigby.
I just have one. We got a letter from the Advocate Charitable Foundation. As you recall, Mr. Joseph King's, his family passed away, and we made a donation at the family's request to the Advocate Charitable Foundation. And we just got a nice thank you note back from them, and the family has been notified. That's all I have.
Thank you. 11F, Trustee Mitchell's out of town. Anything, Karen, that you'd like to add? I think we've talked about some of this with the Friar Farm.
Yeah, no, we cover everything.
Okay. 11G, Public Safety and Gated Communities, Trustee Schauer.
You just alluded to the fact that Administrator Lang and myself met for updating the emergency operating plan for the village, and come to find out, it doesn't really need quite as much updating as we thought. It's pretty much in compliance, but still we're trying to tweak it and bring it up to date so it is more meaningful and relevant to what's going on, especially with the national emergency system and tying in with that, and making sure our ducks in a row for what happens if, and also investigating the Connect service that we have, the call-out service, the reverse 911 that try to get so that we can operate that efficiently. There's certain restrictions on what you can do with it and what you can't. So working on updating that, and we'll have that within the next couple of months. We have the Lake County Sheriff's Department with us tonight. Deputy Kyle Resowitz is back there with an intern. How does an intern work with the Sheriff's Department? Tell me.
Basically, they just ride along with us.
You can come on
Come
over.
up to the,
Yeah.
gotta come up to the microphone.
It's a nice change of pace to have a handsome young guy.
Yes, but we do miss Robin.
We don't have much of that otherwise, so.
So basically, people who are completing law enforcement degrees, most of the time, their last semester, they do an internship, and me along with several others chose to do the Lake County Sheriff's Office. They sit in different divisions. They ride along on the road with us and just kind of get to learn what we do, ask us questions, and see what the job's all about. So today's, he's here with me tonight.
Come on up for a moment. We're
Yeah.
famous for wanting to ask
Sure,
talented,
yeah.
bright young people.
Sit back there.
And please introduce yourself, and I'm most interested in knowing what got you interested in a career in criminal justice.
Okay, well, my name is Matt Perret, and my father is a police officer, and so that's kind of what sparked my interest. And then the more that I got into it, the more I enjoyed it and wanted to do it. So,
Where have you pursued your studies?
Illinois State University. So,
Great birds, right?
yep.
Let me see if any of my colleagues have questions. Trustee Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't really have a question. I just want to wish you good luck,
Thank you.
and I hope you do very well. I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Trustee Scheller?
No, I just wanted to introduce the two of you, and then I'll get into the report. But obviously, good luck with your pursuit, and hopefully you'll guide you in the right direction the rest of the day, and there won't be any major events for you to have to cover at that point.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes, good luck with your venture here. Where are you planning on landing?
Well, I just interviewed with Vernon Hills last night. I'm waiting for an interview with the Lake County Sheriff's, and then just a few other departments closer to the city.
Great.
Trustee
Congratulations.
This morning I was able to participate in a educational, post-secondary education panel down at College of DuPage. And that's one of the better police academy training facilities. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to go down there and see that thing, but I got the tour from the guy that runs it, who used to be one of the agents that worked for the Postal Service. And he worked both in Washington, and when he retired, he was the chief in the Chicago district. Anyway, really exciting program down there they put up. I guess there's 7 academies here in the state of Illinois, and one of them is there. So anyway, it's one of the better training facilities I've ever seen. It's really something. So.
Well, we, in this community, we revere all of those who wear a uniform in the service of our residents, whether they're in the military or whether they're first responders. The welcome mat at this building is always out for the Lake County Sheriffs, and for those of you who, my older sister was a cop for 30 years. She now only uses the handcuffs on her relatives at Christmas and Thanksgiving, but that's for an entirely different reason. Best of luck to you, and on behalf of your parents, please stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
As far as the report, there have been, we just want to alert residents again, Barrington Harbor Estates back at the end of July had several cars that had windows broken, valuable stolen, especially, and we've mentioned it before, cars and driveways that people leave out in their driveway. Either they leave it unlocked or they leave their key fob in it. But just to again alert people to be a little bit more cautious. You float, and you said yesterday you were up in Zion in that area.
Right.
Obviously, it's a different world kind of down here, and yet we're not. We still have incidents, and it might not be quite as severe, quite as active, but it's still things that people need to be alert, and see if something unusual is happening in their neighborhood, and report it to the Lake County Sheriff's Department.
Definitely. It doesn't matter if it's never happened to you before, or you think, it won't happen. Just always, we tell people lock their doors. We do our best to do extra patrols in these subdivisions, areas where it has happened. Unfortunately, you get people that will walk through an area and pull on door handles until they find ones that are open. So we always tell people just lock their doors, And we're out here doing the best we can to prevent stuff like this from happening.
And sometimes people are leaving key fobs in cars, so they
Right.
get into the garage, they get into the house. You know, it's amazing
Exactly.
what you can, there's wonderful key fobs, what they do and they can't do. But, so just be vigilant more than anything else. There were a couple minor thefts even in Lake Barrington Shores. So again, people kind of breaking and entering or things missing. I think it was some jewelry worth almost $10,000. One person was gone. So again, you got to be vigilant.
Definitely.
And if you see something unusual, call
Definitely.
sheriff's
And if you
department.
think it wasn't anything, just call us. That's what we're here for. We'll come check it out. Rather come check it out and there be nothing. So.
Appreciate it. So thank you very
Thank
much.
you, gentlemen. Best of luck.
Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District has been responding to some major accidents. They're working on their third station. They bought property next to Prairie Middle School, and eventually they'll have a third fire station on there. They have an antique fire show coming up later this year that obviously invited everyone to. As far as Lake Barrington Shores, just want to report there have been 75 sales year to date. There are 11 more under contract. That's 86 compared to 94 all of last year. The average sale price right now is $242,000. So it's, things are going well as far as that goes. As far as tall grass, Kathleen Schwan, who's community sales manager, said that July finally picked up. They've had 2 sales, 1 inventory, which closed within 2 weeks of the sale, and 1 to-be-built home projected to close first quarter of 19. A lot of construction underway in the community, anticipating approximately 10 more closings before the end of the year. Many permits in process, and our teams have been working diligently to get those processed and issued. So that's, the enclave is pretty well built out, but Tallgrass is obviously, that helps with our, just what's happening in your focus groups and things like that moving into the area. And that's the end of my report.
Questions? Then 11H, roads and infrastructure, Trustee Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's see, Old Barrington Road, Geskey and Son has completed the milling of Old Barrington Road, and they plan to start placing the binder course this Thursday. The weather holds out for us. Also, the Lake County Department of Transportation is continuing the drainage work along Kelsey Road. Milling and paving is expected to begin this fall, and the village administrator will be meeting with next Tuesday when they will
A pre-construction meeting, yeah.
Pre-construction meeting, yeah. Okay. And then also a couple weeks ago, I attended the Tri-County Access Project open house, and it was informative, a lot of information to take in, and I encourage folks to go to tricounty.access.org, and they just have a plethora of information on the project. That is all.
Karen, when they repave Kelsey, are they going to have bituminous shoulders for cyclists?
Yeah, they have, I think it's an average of 5 feet wide shoulders on
Great,
those sides.
extra wide, that's wonderful.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Great.
There's some trenching work now.
Yeah,
All
there's
up and down.
drainage work
right,
with
right.
culvert replacement and some ditch drainage along Kelsey as well.
And there have been those color of Provident blue pipes all up and down Kelsey Road.
We call that SDR pipe.
SDR.
SDR PVC.
MOUSC.
Yeah. But I would just like to take this moment just to thank Lake County DOT because they've been very responsive to some of our requests for some of this drainage work to be done. So kudos to them for being so nice.
Thank you. Now, there is no old business tonight, so we can move to ordinances under agenda item 13. A, consideration of an ordinance amending Title II, Business and License Regulations, and Title VI, Public Ways and Public Property of the Village of Lake Barrington Village Code. Mr. Bateman, I think you're setting this one up for us, right?
Yes, I'm working with Village Administrator Dalton Lang and Village Clerk Pena Talapa to update village code provisions relative to business licensing and liquor licensing, and that was really inspired by the fact that we were also updating the applications for business licenses and liquor licenses, and so the ordinance you have for you has numerous, I call them housekeeping provisions to update the village code. Things like, well, the code referred to partnerships and sole partnerships and corporations, but didn't have consistent references to LLCs. And so those kinds of things just had to be updated. And there are two substantive changes in the liquor regulations, which are worth noting. One is that the village president will be authorized as the local liquor control commissioner to issue licenses for not-for-profits. It's our Class K license for not-for-profits or governmental organizations, whether they're having a special event in the village or they're having an event on village property. And so that will expedite the process for not-for-profits that want to hold events, either whether or not they're selling alcohol, or even if they just want to serve on village property. That Class K license can do both. And the other thing is that in order to make the liquor renewal application in particular more efficient, the village will require liquor licensees to submit their renewal applications by March 15th, so that there's plenty of time to process their applications before the May 1st start date for the new license year. And there's a similar provision of a 60-day time period to basically to let new liquor applicants expect that kind of processing requirement for the new liquor licenses. And of course, in those cases, not only does the village need to process their applications, but typically a new license has to be created through the legislative process as well. So,
Are there other, how does this policy stand in contrast or in similarity to our neighbors?
It actually is, it's something the Village of Barrington has done within the last couple of years, and it seems to have worked there, and that's why.
So we're not an outlier on this?
No, not at all. The problems we've been having is an applicant, a renewal application will come in a few days before the end of April, and they need their license issued by May 1st.
Yeah.
And so it needs to, we need to make that process more efficiently so they don't have a gap in their authority to sell and serve.
It's a good business process.
Yeah.
Questions for council on this? Marvelous, thank you. Then Chair would like a motion to approve ordinance number 2018-0-17. Thank you, Lisa. An ordinance amending Title II, Business and License Regulations, and Title VI, Public Ways and Public Property of the Village of Lake Barrington. Village Code, may I please have a motion?
So moved.
By Trustee Shaw, may I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Rigby, thank you both. Clerk, will please call the roll.
Trustee Shallman?
Yes.
Trustee Rigby? Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Thompson?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes, thank you. There are no resolutions, new business under agenda item 16. Second opportunity in the agenda for the public to address the board. Seeing none. Trustee Thompson, what time do you have?
7:30.
That's right. Yeah, I just want to make sure for the record, because I want Trustee Mitchell and Trustee Burke to read in the minutes. This meeting was adjourned at 7:52 under my watch. I'm tired of Andy Burke always saying he runs it fast. Chair would like a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did it.